Well, today I get to interview Carole Murphy, who lives in Montana, which is a beautiful state. I've just been there myself for the first time. And Carole went from being a dentist with a successful practice into creating a company called New Moon Clothing. So, Carole, I have to ask you, how did you go from a dentist with a successful practice into creating a company called New Moon Clothing? Want to hear more about it?
Yeah, it was an interesting and not always an easy path. Basically, I found myself with my hands in a patient's mouth with this recurring thought going through my mind that said, "You are wasting your life."
Wow.
And that was a very hard thing to hear because I had put so much effort, time, money, blood, sweat, tears into becoming a dentist. But eventually, over time, with the help of a lot of people, I was able to work through that and proceeded with my dream, which was New Moon Clothing.
So, was it something that was in your mind for a long time?
Oh, yeah. This was something that I even entertained doing before I went to dental school, and I was having a very hard time deciding, who I was going to be when I grew up. And so dentistry was a very positive thing in my life. I'm extremely happy that I did that. And it was good training. It was like boot camp.
You mean it was boot camp for your next business, right?
Say that again.
It was boot camp for your next business.
There you go. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
And what people helped you along the way? You said you got some help in working it out and where you really wanted to go.
Family, lots of family support, and then of course where we met was through Marcia Weeder,
Right.
and that helped me sort things out a lot. Just a lot of soul searching, connecting with spirit led people, and just really following my truth.
Was that the first time you had been around people like that?
No, no, I had it was more of a continuation of a previous journey, and I think the the little mini crisis that I experienced pushed me back into that and made it more a focus of my attention, for sure.
I know that when we met that we talked about meditation and you said something and I never forgot it. You said that meditation changed your life. What
Yeah.
happened?
Oh gosh, that's like a whole hour-long discussion of in and of itself. For me, meditation really is connecting with truth, and a very nebulous term in and of itself, but personal truth. Who am I? What am I here for? Those deep questions that I think are the most important questions of what's our life purpose. So meditation really helped connect me to that and settle all of the confounding chatter. Words, well, what will my family think? What will happen to my patients? What will happen to my staff? All of these concerns and worries that I had about leaving my practice.
So you had a lot of worries about everybody else and you needed to
Of
take care of
course,
yourself. That's
of
what we do
course.
as women. We worry about everybody else, but you were able
Yes.
to step out of that and to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and to do what I felt was really my calling. And there's something very profound about that, stepping into something that is very unknown, but yet you really long for at the same time.
That's a beautiful way. I've never heard anybody say that in that way. That was wonderful. I'll have to remember. I should write that down. So the meditation helped you to really work through all these voices that were stopping you from where you wanted to go.
Yes.
And what were the voices saying that you can't do this?
Yeah, a lot of doubt and a lot of, rather than, I love Deepak. He has I think it's 7 spiritual laws of success.
Right.
And one of those laws is that rather than listening to the voices of those around you, you listen to your internal voice, which is very important, which is the most, I mean, all of the voices I think are important, but to succeed, to really follow your path, that inner voice is what you have to listen to. So quieting those others is very important, and it's nearly impossible to listen to that voice without quieting those others.
So did it take you a while to be able to do that?
Oh, yeah, a long time. Um, Honestly, it was probably a 5-year process.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the 5-year process was when you were doing dental work, and then you had this dream inside of you, and to learn how to quiet the voices to get to where you wanted to go.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how was it the last day of working as a dentist?
Oh my gosh, it was so exciting. The gal that bought the practice, she's a very accomplished dentist, and we both had our struggles going through that 5-year process together. And she walked through the door, and I was firing the employees at the same time that she was hiring the employees, which was an incredible, very good feeling. So the first thing she did, she looked at me kind of with a little trepidation as she walked through the door, and she said, "How are you?" And I started jumping up and down. I am so excited. It was a good day.
That's cute. So the women that are listening to this, leaving a job that you know you need to get out of and to move into something else, and to hear you talk about the joy and happiness on that last day of leaving, stepping into what you wanted to do, with happiness, that's great.
Yeah.
So what were you like as a little kid?
Oh, I was very quiet, very introspective. I grew up on a farm here in Montana. On the out, I had lots of chores. Growing up on a farm, that's what you do. You work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very blessed life in many ways. I got to experience a very, I think it's an old-fashioned kind of life, an agrarian kind of lifestyle with a garden and chopping wood and feeding the animals, getting up before daylight to go out and take care of them before I went to school. And I went to a 2-room schoolhouse. Wow. So it's kind of a bygone era kind of life that I got to really experience on the fringes of its extinction.
And when you became a dentist, you were not in Montana anymore, right?
No. So after graduation from high school here, 2 years after that, I moved to California, which is where my mom was. And then eventually I went to undergrad at Chico State, and then I went to dental school in Maryland at Baltimore.
And where was your practice?
In California, a little town, Hanford, which is south of Fresno.
Ah, so you went back to a little town.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And now you're back in Montana. Why did you move back to Montana?
Oh, I get that. I get it out. Again, I think it has to do with my life path. And part of, as Marcia would call it, Marcia Weeder, my sacred wound growing up here. Butte is a mining town that suffered a lot of environmental devastation, and it went through a boom and bust cycle, as many resource-driven industries do. So I got to live through the bust cycle during high school years, and even it was dwindling before that. So many, many stories that I could tell about the town suffering because of the way business was conducted by the main shareholder in the mining company that pretty much in its early years ran the entire town. even the entire state for that matter. And then later on, it was just a one industry town. So when that industry failed, the citizens were left holding the bag and all of the environmental destruction that occurred because of it. And Butte is a very unique place, and in spite of the bad, there's the flip side of it, which is the good, and that is, very hard scrabble people with true grit and a sense of community, and I really longed for that, and I missed it, and so I'm here.
So you're back home. Very cool. So what was your childhood like when you were a little kid? Besides doing the farming, what did you have dreams? What were your dreams when you were a little kid, little girl?
Oh, my dreams really were about traveling. I would long desperately to not just leave this town, but to leave the state. We had this journey that we would do on the way to my grandmother's house, and we'd go through Wisdom, Montana, and sight a big sign at the border of Idaho that said, "Welcome to Idaho." And every time we would go by there, I would just look at the sign and think to myself, I'll never get out of the state of Montana. I'll be stuck here forever. So my dreams were really about other people's and other cultures. I was in 4-H, and they had an IFFE program, and that was an exchange program where the older 4-Hers got to go to other countries, and then they would come back and they would share their cultural experiences that they had when they went to visit, and they usually would stay with a host. And I dreamed of that too. But I wasn't old enough, so my mother told me. I was convinced I was old enough, but she wasn't.
So what challenges did you have as a little girl?
Okay, so there were several. I think one of them was a lot of boredom. Growing up on a farm, even though I had a horse. I mean, how lucky is that to have had your very own horse? And I had lots of animals. I just long for others to be exposed to other cultures and places. And then my parents got divorced, so it's really kind of a family scandalous story, but my mother actually, and you could cut this out if you want to talk about it. My mother, my mother came out of the closet. She was actually a lesbian, and so this in the 70s was very taboo, and we had a lot of family turmoil around that, and that was a real gift. I mean, in hindsight, I no doubt at the time it was very difficult, no question, but in hindsight, I think it was one of the greatest gifts that I was given in life, because it gave me a very unique perspective, and our opinions about everything in life are based on those experiences, and I had a very unique one. So it made me very accepting of people with differences. It made me really think about these issues at a very young age and form very strong opinions about them. So it was a good foundation for later on in life, and it helped me stand solid on who I was and what I knew to be the truth.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story.
It was amazing. It still is. It's an ongoing saga.
I'm sure it is. The other thing I wanted to ask about your New Moon clothing. Tell me what that's about, what you're doing.
So at the center of New Moon is what's been called either conscious capitalism or the new paradigm of business. And what the new paradigm of business is about is no longer doing business strictly with profits in mind, doing business in a new way that really takes in consideration all of the stakeholders, and not just making profits, surely making profits, but in addition to that, making sure that everybody who's participating in the business process wins.
So how does that work in your particular company?
So this is one of the reasons why it's kind of taken quite a while, and it's still a work in progress, in that we are setting ourselves up for success. And I'm fortunate and lucky enough that I can take the time to do that. Mm-hmm. Working with other agencies such as the Rainforest Alliance to make sure that all of our product is sourced from rainforest certified suppliers. In other words, suppliers are harvesting the rattan and manufacturing it in a way that is financially equitable and preserves the rainforest.
So, and what's the product?
They are woven rattan handbags. They're very beautiful, and the business plan is that they will be customizable. So it's kind of like Build-A-Bear, only with handbags online. The customer can go online and they can select the various woven portion of the bags. There'll be 5 or 6 different ones, and they can basically design the entire bag. If they don't want to design their own bag, then there'll be a crowdsourcing platform so you can select from other designers' handbags.
And where are these being made?
Right now they're coming from Indonesia, the off-the-shelf version that I'm testing the market with. Uh-huh. And the eventual customizable bag will be manufactured here in Montana.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So you're bringing jobs to Montana.
Yeah.
As well as Indonesia.
Resourcing, yeah, or reshoring, excuse me, is the correct term. Reshoring is basically the idea that made in the USA should be coming back. It's something that as a nation we can recultivate. When you think about all of our industries that have virtually vanished, and Detroit is a good example of what happens when these industries disappear. So there's a big push here in Montana to create jobs, and there's a huge network of support for manufacturers. So that's another reason that I came back, is because I found that there was more support here than what I was finding where I was in California.
Oh, that's wonderful. So was there an event that happened, a global event that impacted you as a kid?
Global event that impacted me as a kid? Well, the Cold War, of course. I think there was the Vietnam War, too, which was going on when I was in junior high, and all of the fallout from that. So I formed opinions about those sorts of things very early on also. I really felt that nuclear weapons of any kind were just crazy. Why would we want to destroy ourselves? Why would we want to advance technologically to the point that we can literally destroy the entire planet? Because it's a natural system that stays in a natural balance. And now we have the ability to totally disrupt that to the point that we destruction. As far as war, I determined for myself very early on that there were other ways that we needed to find to solve our problems between each other. Whatever those disagreements and problems were, killing each other was only worsening the problem.
That's why we need more women out there to create change.
That's true.
And you certainly are doing that with what you're doing in Montana and Indonesia. So can you give our listeners, the women that are listening, one thing that they could do today, one bit of advice that they could actually do today after hearing your talk?
Yeah, and I think I have to go back to where our conversation started, and that's with meditation. Whatever your practice is, really go there, get quiet, go deep, and soul search. And the truth, I believe, lies within, and we can all find it. It's there to be found. And connecting with Mother Earth, for me, that's been one of the most amazing things being back home. Is I can hop in my car and literally 5 minutes I'm in paradise. It is so beautiful here. And, a half hour walk in Mother Nature totally centers me and connects me to who I am and who she is and how important the earth is.
That's true. We kind of forget about that, especially growing up in cities with cement under our feet. But when, as I say, when I went to Montana, it was like, look at this beautiful, beautiful state. It was just gorgeous. So
Thank you so much, Arlene. Okay,